how much did David's family really know about his alleged relationship with 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez before she was found dead and dismembered in the trunk of a Tesla allegedly registered to him? What did they potentially say to a secret grand jury in the months before the now 21-year-old was slapped with murder and mutilation charges? And did his brother really think now is the time to just kick off his own music career? We're talking about David's family right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. David Anthony Burke, known by his moniker, his stage name David, is accused of sexually abusing a teen girl for months before allegedly luring her to a swanky rental home in the Hollywood Hills, killing her with some sort of sharp instrument, letting her bleed out, and then cutting her up in an inflatable pool in the home's garage. Horrific. But this is all according to investigation by the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division and now the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. Now we know David has entered a not guilty plea to the charges that he faces, and that his attorneys, led by Blair Burke, say the evidence will show he didn't cause Celeste Rivas Hernandez's death. Exactly what that evidence might be, though, still unclear. But again, as he faces these charges, including first-degree murder and their special circumstances allegations, which could make this life in prison without the possibility of parole, maybe even the death penalty, even though there's a moratorium on executions, the stakes are very severe. And today, as we inch closer to a preliminary hearing in David's murder case, I want to do something else. I want to talk a little bit more about what we know about him, his family, his relationship or alleged relationship with Celeste, and what's next in this very high-profile criminal case. Because you may or may not have heard of David before Celeste's body was found in the trunk of a Tesla towed to a Hollywood tow yard in September. The singer-songwriter shot to fame in 2022 with a song called Romantic Homicide, which has more than, I think, 1 billion plays on Spotify. His latest album, Withered, landed a top 15 spot on the Billboard 200 when it debuted last year. This is according to The Hollywood Reporter, sandwiching David in between hitmakers like Billie Eilish and Chappell Roan. Guy's a big deal. By the way, important for the legal case, his career. And David also made headlines in the music industry because of his production process. According to an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, most of his songs are recorded on his iPhone using apps like BandLab. But his success quickly pulled him from his Texas bedroom to the international stage. Multiple websites list David's net worth as between $2 and $3 million, which, by the way, we weren't able to independently confirm, but it's safe to say that he has been seeing some serious success. You got to imagine that. And in September of 2025, the media pivoted from talking about his Withered concert tour, which he soon canceled, and instead focused on his alleged involvement in Celeste's death. She should have been celebrating her 15th birthday, but instead, she was found dead, dismembered, some of her body parts still missing, all in the front trunk of a Tesla, reportedly registered out of Texas to David. She had last been seen or heard from months earlier in April. So now David was the focus of serious scrutiny from law enforcement and online sleuths and traditional media, and that scrutiny spread to his family as well. And it turns out that as David was writing and releasing Romantic Homicide, he was also allegedly interacting online with young fans, including Celeste. According to a brief that was filed by Los Angeles prosecutors in anticipation of a preliminary hearing, quote, pursuant to their investigation, LAPD robbery homicide detectives determined the victim and defendant met in January 2022 when she was 11 years old. They began a sexual relationship in November 2023 when the victim was just 13 years old and defendant was 18. But he wasn't the only one interacting with Celeste. She apparently spent time with his friends, including Neo Langston, who was purportedly one of David's good friends. Investigators say she even traveled to Texas with David to meet his family. The prosecution's brief states, throughout 2024, the victim spent a significant amount of time with defendant, including summer weekends at his home in the Hollywood Hills and traveling with him to Las Vegas, London, and Texas to meet his family. Now, it's unclear how much David's parents and brother knew about his interactions with Celeste and if they were aware of how young she was, but we do know that the family was ordered to come to LA and testify, seemingly in front of a grand jury, as prosecutors were working to build a case against him. After David's arrest in April, an attorney representing the Burke family released a statement to Rolling Stone saying the parents are sad and disappointed that David was arrested. However, they fully stand behind him and believe that he is innocent. They fully support him. Okay, before we jump into this, look, the weather's getting nicer, and it means, it's time for a little spring reset on the closet, right? For me, that is about quality over quantity, going for pieces that are easy for every day, but have an elevated feel and something that's not going to break the budget, right? That's why I got to tell you about Quince, okay? So Quince makes beautiful, effortless pieces using premium materials like 100% European linen and organic cotton, super soft denim, and they have tons of accessories too, like their hand-woven Italian leather bags. Best part? They have styles that start around just $50 because they work directly with ethically sourced factories, so you get the quality without the markups. Recently, I got to tell you, their linen tops, perfect for the nice weather because the fabric, yes, it feels luxurious, but it's just so easy to throw on and still, look put together running out the door. So give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to quince.com/lawandcrime for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/lawandcrime for free shipping and 365-day returns. So I want to talk about what we've learned about the Burke family over the last year or so. And I'm going to preface this by saying that David is the only person to have been charged in connection with Celeste's death right now. His family members have not been accused of any wrongdoing. But David's parents are Colleen and DeWood Burke. He also has an adult brother, Caleb, as well as a younger sister. This is according to TMZ. And we're going to get into more about Caleb and how he's maybe turning heads right now in just a second. But last fall, when all of the speculation started swirling around about David, the Tesla, a body being found in California, what was going on in Texas? Well, the Burke family home was reportedly the target of swatting. So swatting's a dangerous prank where someone calls 911 and pretends that there's been some sort of incident, so it requires an urgent police response. It's a hoax. And in this case, 2 Waller County deputies responded to that home in Hempstead, which is apparently on a large piece of property set back off the road. But according to Realtor.com, the 4,400 square foot home sits on nearly 7 acres of land. And it all started with a phone call to 911 on September 18th, so just days after Celeste's body was found.
Waller County Sheriff's Office is Amber. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, Waller County Sheriff's Office.
Hello, I need help.
Okay, what's going on? Where are you at?
My address is...
Okay, what's going on?
I heard, some, gunshots.
Okay. How close to your residence were they?
They were, right outside my house, and I think someone's dead.
Okay, what's your name?
Say it again?
What's your name? Okay, what's a good phone number for you, sir? Okay, and why do you believe that somebody's dead?
I just heard, a loud scream, and there was, gunshots.
Oh, scream. Okay. After shots. Okay, but you haven't saw or heard anything else after that?
I heard a scream.
Was it a male or a female scream, do you think?
It was a female.
Female? Okay, we're going to go ahead and get deputies headed out that way. Just confirming you're at...
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to get them sent that way, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
So someone's alleging that there's someone dead at this home, doesn't want to provide much detail. We spoke with an audio expert, by the way, for an episode of Sidebar when this first came out, and she said the voice was distorted and it's likely someone trying to mask it. Now, one of the responding deputies called into the sheriff's office to get more information from the dispatcher as he approached this property.
How far is the other guy out?
Not. Let me see where he's at compared to you.
Show me front of me, Martin.
He is turning right now onto 359, so he's probably 5-6 minutes if he's booking it. Yeah, this house is far. Be careful. Wait on him, Chris.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
This guy, whenever he told me, he was like, hey, I just heard gunshots and someone's dead. And I was like, wait, what do you mean somebody's dead? How do you know that? Do you see them? And he's like, no, I heard a lady scream right after the gunshots. And I was like, okay, so have you seen anybody? Have you heard anything? Have you heard any more gunshots? He's like, no. And I was like, okay, well, what's your name? My name? And I was like, yeah, what's your name? But behind it, to the side of it, grass, so y'all just be careful.
Yeah,
he's almost he's on Porter Lane right now already.
Right,
so he's moving.
Yeah, I'm gonna move up a little ways and then we'll ride in.
Okay, we're gonna close it when y'all get there, just to make sure.
All right, let me grab my Yeah, cause this ain't right. I remember one time coming out here when I first started, and we had a crazy dude back here, and it was when I was on FTO.
Yeah, and I looked at the prior scene because he kind of gave me that vibe. But yeah, it's a very long driveway that loops around to his big old house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no, like, houses close to him. That's why his property is huge.
Yeah.
That's why when he said that, it confused me.
All right, let me let him know.
Okay.
I'm getting about to pull it beside me. I'm going to let him
Okay.
know.
Okay, bye.
So the deputies, one of whom, by the way, is armed with a high-powered rifle, walked up to the Burke's front door.
Wait, I got you covered. Come right here. There's too many windows. Here, knock on the door. Dude, we got a phone call from here saying that somebody was dead. What? Is there somebody else that lives on this property that has your address? What's your address? No. That's it.
That's it. That's what I actually got.
We got an address. There was a gunshot and a woman scream.
What?
I'm serious. That's why we came up here like this, because and then they talked to the caller. Whoever they were talking to said that there's a person dead.
No, sir.
David's mom, Colleen, apparently fearful that the deputies might not be who they say they are, called 911 to verify what's going on.
Sorry to bother you, but somebody called and said there was something. I mean, there was a person that they called on themselves. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, there's somebody dead.
Someone's dead. Yeah.
That's why we gotta take caution. You know what I mean? Wasn't trying to scare y'all. Just
And if it was
this house is way off the roadway.
So you just opened the gate and came in?
Yes, ma'am. I'll put it back. I have a gate just like it.
I can get part of it in my country.
Yeah, when it's something like this, when they say somebody's dead, their life matters more than, you know what I mean?
I hear.
Yeah, the dispatcher read the phone number of the person who called 911 to Colleen, typed it into her phone, and it didn't show up in her contacts.
It ain't on their phone.
And this is not a Texas.
Yeah, that's an out-of-state number.
Someone's messing with us.
But it would be pinged here though, because wherever they call from, it pings and sends it to dispatch.
What?
So like whenever you call 911, wherever you are, it sends like a ping that's how they know the address.
And this address came up to this number?
Yes, ma'am, that's where he was meeting.
Engine 42.
So it says somebody on my property?
It could be. We'll check the property for you.
So there's this police report that was apparently reviewed by TMZ that says the deputies were on the property for another 20 minutes or so before they closed out the call, determining that it was likely swatting. And TMZ also later reported that David had transferred deeds of 2 Texas homes to a trust in his mother's name. That reportedly happened on September 18th and September 20th. Why? Remember, September 18th was the day of that swatting call. It's not clear why the singer decided to do the transfer, but there was speculation at the time that if he did end up getting arrested in connection with Celeste's death, he didn't want authorities to be able to seize his assets. It's also interesting to note that between September, when he canceled his Wither tour, and April, when he was arrested, we don't know where David was. We didn't know where he was. He went silent on social media, didn't make any public appearances as far as we know. He was arrested in California. Is it possible that he was lying low at one of those Texas homes during these months? We know he was arrested at this property in California. How long was he there? And another interesting connection, we actually learned for the first time that David was a, quote, target of a murder investigation because of court documents that were filed by David's family. What do I mean? In February, what's called a petition of attendance was filed, and essentially was trying to compel Colleen, DeWood, and Caleb to appear before a Los Angeles grand jury. And here's an example of what that paperwork said. Quote, that if DeWood Burke comes into the state of California in obedience to a summons directing him to attend and testify at said grand jury investigation, the laws of the state of California and of any other state through which he may be required to pass by the ordinary course of travel to attend such proceeding, shall give him protection from arrest and the service of process, civil or criminal, in connection with matters which arose before his entrance into said state, pursuant to such summons. That DeWood Burke is an adult, that the prosecution will provide the witness a round-trip airplane ticket and transportation to and from the airport. Wherefore, it is requested for and on behalf of the state of California that your honor certify to the above and foregoing by the issuance of a certificate thereto under the seal of the Superior Court of Record in the state of California to compel the attendance of DeWood Burke as a witness at the grand jury investigation on the date and time set forth and pursuant to law. So clearly they wanted him, right? And we had a chance to dig into that court paperwork, and attorneys for the Burkes filed a writ of habeas corpus arguing that the order compelling them to go to California was illegal, that it was unlawful, because they didn't get fully unredacted copies of the documents that were accompanying the request, so they didn't have the full information, they didn't have notice. Now, a judge considered those arguments, but ultimately denied the writ. But as part of those proceedings, there were some documents that were unsealed, and it gave us a look at where this investigation stood at that point. Again, this is before David's arrest. In those documents, David was referred to, and this was a big shocker, as a target of a murder investigation. Quote, it is alleged in this case that the target may be involved in the death of 14-year-old victim Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who may have been a victim of foul play. Her severely decomposed, dismembered body was found in the front trunk of Target's Tesla on September 8th, 2025. On September 8th, 2025, at approximately 10:30 hours, Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD detectives, received a phone call from the manager of Hollywood Area Official Police Garage. The manager stated a black Tesla Model X had been impounded as an abandoned vehicle by the Department of Transportation on September 5th, 2025. The manager told police there was a strong smell of decay coming from the vehicle, which was attracting flies. LAPD detectives responded to the Hollywood tow yard to investigate. Detectives approached the vehicle, which was parked on the upper deck of the impound lot, and immediately noticed the smell of decaying biological material consistent with a decomposing corpse coming from the front storage compartment of the vehicle. Detectives obtained a search warrant for the vehicle, and when the front storage compartment was opened, detectives observed a black cadaver bag covered with insects and a strong odor of decay. Utilizing black latex gloves, detectives partially unzipped the bag and observed a decomposed head and torso. Investigators and criminalists from the Los Angeles County Department of Medical Examiner responded to the tow yard to process the decomposed body. Upon removing the cadaver bag from the front storage compartment, it was discovered the arms and legs had been severed from the body. A second black bag was discovered underneath the cadaver bag. Upon opening the second bag, the dismembered body parts were discovered. Detectives were advised that on August 26, 2025, a citizen reported the above-mentioned Tesla as an abandoned vehicle parked across from 1405 Bluebird Street. On August 27, 2025, Department of Transportation officers responded to Bluebird and marked the vehicle. On September 3, 2025, Department of Transportation returned to the vehicle and issued a citation. On September 5, 2025, Department of Transportation impounded the vehicle to Hollywood Area Tow. It was noted that the Tesla was registered to target David Anthony Burke in Hempstead, Texas. David, who is a singer and performing artist, was on tour at the time his vehicle was impounded. And then the next section is different for each witness, but it says detectives learned that Caleb Burke is the younger brother of target David Burke and has a close relationship with him. Detectives learned that Colleen Burke is the mother of target David Burke and has a close relationship with him. Per several witnesses, she is instrumental to his career success and manages his business finances. Detectives learned that DeWood Burke is the father of target David Burke and has a close relationship with him. So you also wonder if they were going to be compelled to testify about maybe the relationship or the alleged relationship with Celeste. And then there's a large chunk of text that's redacted, but from there we have this application for writ of habeas corpus, and the basic argument here, again, is that under Texas law, a court can only force a resident to testify in another state if there's been a meaningful hearing. They need to understand what it's all about before being forced to go somewhere or being confined in some way. And as I mentioned, that writ of habeas corpus was denied by the court. But to get back to the point, 2 hearings were held. And at the first one, on January 23rd, Colleen and Caleb were in attendance, as well as 2 LAPD homicide detectives who could testify if they needed to. Now, we don't know why DeWood wasn't present, but Mia Magnus represented Texas as well as California, basically by proxy. And she argued that the determination about materiality of these witnesses, like their importance, why they're valued, was already made by a California judge. All the Texas judge needed to do was make sure that the paperwork was all in order and to tell the witnesses they needed to go. Now, the judge said, actually, since this was so last minute, he didn't have any of the paperwork. So they decided to reschedule the hearing for several days later. At the February 2nd hearing in Texas, Colleen, Caleb, and DeWood were all there with counsel. Bennett Dodson, assistant DEA for Waller County in Texas, told the court, I don't think it's a secret to anyone at this point that Mr. David Burke is a musician who's quite famous, and this matter concerns a car that was registered to him at these witnesses' address here in Houston that had a dismembered, decomposing body in it. I would say if a car with a dismembered, decomposing body is registered to your home address, that is something you should expect to be questioned by the authorities about, and that's what this is, Judge. Well, the attorneys for David's family members argued that Everyone involved in both California and Texas courts, so the judges, the prosecutors, they had seen the unredacted affidavit, but their clients only got the redacted version. And they want to know what's in that big blacked out section of the petitions. Again, it goes back to the legal argument. Hey, we have a right to know what this is about under habeas before relinquishing our freedom in a way. Now, ADA Dodson claimed that most of that information in the affidavit is already known to the public, saying, quote, it's all over TMZ, goes on to say the redacted information concerns knowledge that is only known to the grand jury, period. It has not been distributed anywhere. And then the judge's decision. But even when I look at it myself, I still think these witnesses are material and necessary because of the relationship that's involved with the witnesses and the defendant. So my ruling is going to be that they are to go to California and honor the subpoena by California. And while the judge ordered the Burkes to go to LA, appear before seemingly this grand jury, it is unclear when that happened and what they had to say, apparently, in those secret hearings. However, as I mentioned earlier, the family has come out in support of David. They say they believe he's innocent. And I will say this, and this is a new update, and it's a bit of a strange twist to say the least, but as David is languishing behind bars right now as he's awaiting his preliminary hearing in his trial, and again, he's innocent until proven guilty, his brother Caleb is making the news because Caleb has apparently taken this opportunity to launch his own music career. Yeah, so according to a report from TMZ, Caleb has used several stage names, including a version of his name where a V replaces the A, and his more recent monikers are Karakova or just Kova, and earlier this week, Kova released a couple of singles on major streaming platforms like Apple Music and Spotify, by the way, the platform that helped launch David to superstardom, and the two singles are called Sex and Imaginary Love. Now, of course, the decision to release music right now is getting a lot of backlash, with some online calling this move tone deaf, demonic. This is according to the Mirror. But Caleb attempted to silence the critics through a lengthy Instagram story on Thursday, appearing to distance himself from his brother, from David, dispel rumors that he helped his brother somehow cover up the alleged murder. Again, there's been no allegations of that. There's been no definitive proof of that. And Caleb also addressed a video of him circulating online, interacting with Celeste backstage at one of David's concerts. So Caleb's post says the following, quote, I've been wanting to say something for a while, but I have to be careful about what I say as this is an ongoing legal matter. I don't want to make this horrible situation about me. I want justice for Celeste and her family. I've seen people say that I knew what was going on and was protecting my brother. This is not true at all. I have not lived with my brother for years and was not very close with him. We didn't speak often other than when our family was brought on tour or he was visiting home. I was around Celeste a few times when I was 15. I did not know her well and did not know her age. People have been posting a video showing me backstage with her at one of David's concerts when I was 15. And I've been wanting to address it for a while. People have even gone as far as to say that I was sneaking her backstage, which is not true. She was already at the show, and the video takes place after the show had already ended. In the video, we were sent to grab something from a fan that was in front of the stage, and we were walking back. News companies such as TMZ, Daily Mail, and others have started saying that I am taking advantage of the whole situation to promote my music and that I am just now launching my music career. This is not true at all. I have been releasing and posting music over the last 3 to 4 years and took over a half-year hiatus due to what happened. I changed my name online from Kleb to Kova as I did not want to associate myself with any of this. I have not once mentioned the situation or my identity on the new accounts. TMZ even reported my age incorrectly, saying that I'm 20 when I just turned 18 in November. I had scheduled my first release under the new name before any of this became a headline again, and the song came out 2 days before the arrest. This project, music, videos, and songs, was already in motion long before any news coverage around my brother surfaced. My intent has never been to use this to bring attention to myself or my music. This is the whole reason why I started over from scratch. My decision to continue releasing music is not about using any of this for attention. Music is my life, and after stepping away for months because of everything that's happened, I want to build my own path. Now, it's possible that we'll find out more details about possible family ties and connections between David and the Burkes and Celeste at a preliminary hearing later this month, because the preliminary hearing, which is when the court will hear some of the evidence that prosecutors have against David, determine whether or not the case should move forward to trial. Is there enough probable cause to support the charges? And that was originally scheduled, by the way, within just a few days of David's arrest, but the defense said they have terabytes of discovery to sort through. They're not ready yet, so the preliminary hearing is now set for the end of May. So we'll, of course, continue to follow this case closely, bring you any updates as they come out. And of course, if we hear any more connections to David's family, we'll talk about it. But that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can also check us out on NBC's Peacock as well. If you want to follow me, X, Instagram, my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, 11 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. See you next time, everybody.